Okay, today on the show we have Jay Bourgana from Homearly First Team Real Estate in Orange County, California. Jay is a recovering management consultant turned business owner. He has had experience in banking, manufacturing, and management consulting, including years in China and Europe. Jay started the Homearly Real Estate Group, which grew from 0 to 150 million in residential real estate sales in less than 5 years, subsequently acquired by the $5 billion First Team Real Estate Company. Jay loves building businesses, teams, and investing in growing or mature small and mid-sized businesses. Jay was born and raised in Morocco. He currently resides in Orange County with his wife and his 2 children. He loves to spend time with his family, travel, and is passionate about engaging in the community, developing young entrepreneurs, mentoring local businesses, and volunteering with local nonprofits. Jay's life's purpose is healing ill businesses, thus creating opportunities for people to transform their lives. Everyone who is listening and watching, please visit Jay's website, which is homearly.com. That's HOMEARLY.com. Again, HOMEARLY.com. I keep wanting to put a second E in there, Jay. I apologize. So Homearly with one E, .com. And by the way, if you're an agent in Southern California and you're looking to see what other firms offer, take a look at Homearly. We're going to be talking about what they offer here shortly, but they are a huge powerhouse in Southern California. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the warm intro.
We're excited to have you, and would love to. We always start off our episodes really the same way. Maybe I should come up with a new strategy after all these years. But our agents always love to hear about how owners and top producers got into real estate. So if you don't mind telling us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually took the longer route to real estate. I was born and grew up in Morocco. I worked for a French bank there, and I worked in Europe as well for that same company. After about 5 years, I decided to come to the United States. I worked for a mutual fund for about a year, and I didn't like it very much. So I went into manufacturing because I love to travel. And the company that I worked for did production in China, sold to all the big retailers from Walmart to Target to linens and things and Bed Bath Beyond. And I loved working with manufacturing things and selling things, and got involved in the operation, the manufacturing side of it. And I spent about 3 years in China helping with that as well. Right after the recession in 2007, I came back to the US. I started working as a management consultant, working in manufacturing, helping manufacturing companies and distribution companies go from losing money to making money, and fixing their operation, fixing their culture. And it's fascinating as you travel across the world, you see that most people are all the same. We're all similar. As much as you're interested in how we're curious about how different and how our stories are different, we're all the same, and we're all, desire the same things, hope for the same things, dream the same dreams. And I haven't traveled for about 5 years, 100% of the time. I kind of got old and got tired a little bit. So I decided to kind of take a year where I'm staying in one place, and took a year off where I started buying properties around the Long Beach area. And
Sure.
at the time, the real estate market was just coming out of the deep of the recession around 2012. Properties were still cheap, and I was buying condos, 2-bedroom condos, a block from the beach for $50,000.
Wow.
And yeah,
Wow.
something that sells for about 450 now. And so I bought a few, I fixed them up, and I saw value go up, and I got really excited about that. And I wanted to learn more. So I said, I'm going to go get my license and join an office. So I joined the Century 21 office, a local one. And I went fresh, as someone who doesn't know anything, ready to learn as a student. I didn't bring my, years of, management skills, whatever. I was just like, I'm a lonely agent. I'm here to learn. And the broker showed me where the phone book was. He showed me where the phone was.
Sure.
And
Start dialing.
So where the page of scripts were. And I hit it. There were people that were coming to the office once a week. I was there 7 days. I was there from 8 in the morning till probably about 7 p.m. in the evening, so, and I was, I was hitting it hard, just doing what they told me to do. And it's funny because the broker that I worked for did not like working with home buyers, so only focused on sellers. So we only had like 2 scripts, seller scripts. And you either call circle prospect or you call an expireds. And he gave you a handful of objection handlers, and just do it. So after 6 months, I got my first transaction. It was a short sale. I didn't know anything about short sales, so I learned everything on the job. I helped the family through a really stressful situation just because I really cared and I really wanted to help them. And essentially, that was the launch of my solo real estate agent career. I did about 10 transactions my first year. And I moved into the second, so I essentially went hard for about 18 months. And then I kind of burned out in a way. And what I did, essentially, I found a local agent in my office who I liked, who I trusted, and I hand them the phone and I hand them my transactions. And I told them, okay, I'm going to Paris for a month. You take care of it. By then I had about, 25. I was on track to do about 30 transactions at that second year.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that second year I was on track to do 30. And then so
Amazing.
essentially I handed them my phone and I left for a month and a half. And then when I came back, that was essentially the inspiration to start the team. And so halfway through year 2, I recruited a couple of my friends to work as buyer's agents. I hired an operations person. I hired a marketing person. And that year 2, I did 30. The year 3, we did 90.
Wow.
Year 4, we did 180 transactions.
Oh.
And essentially, we started growing, year over year. And about halfway through year 4, or year 4 of the team, year 5 of my career, we were approached by an independent, local independent. They were essentially looking to buy independent brokers, but we had our own. At the time we were at Keller Williams, and we had our own mega office, and we had our own brand, and we actually had 2 offices, and we were branded separately. So they saw the name, they thought we were kind of independent. They approached us, we started talking, and even though they found out we were a team and not a brokerage, they still pursued us. And we end up closing. We started conversation in April. We closed in July, and then and then we went on to grow even more after that.
Okay, congratulations on that success. That is truly
Thank you.
remarkable. I've interviewed hundreds of top producers, and very few of them that I've ever interviewed over all the years have had that kind of success as immediately as you did. So I am super curious to dive a little bit deeper to find out maybe what you did that you think contributed to that rapid, I mean, you weren't kidding, rapid growth is really your specialty. And first, I just find it so amazing that even in 2008, when you first started, that it was still and this is after the do not call list. This is when cold calling was really, well, it still is really, really hard. Pre 2001, it was a lot easier because there was no do not call list. And people were still a little bit more used to taking those kind of calls. But in the mid 2000s, boy, that is a rough way to start. But I bet it just builds such muscle because you're not afraid of anything if you're pounding the phone all day long.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It builds instincts. It builds pattern recognition. I think that's the most important part, where the more you talk to people, the more you start recognizing the different profiles of sellers and buyers. You understand their objections. You see that pattern. If you do it consistently enough, the profiles will start repeating themselves, and then you will know what is the value that you can deliver to each unique different profile. And to me, that's the most valuable element. I don't need, like right now with my team members, I honestly sometimes don't even need to know the story of a seller. I can get a lot of information from the phone number, from the email address, and from the city where they're in, and that's it. And I know exactly the whole story, how it's gonna go. I can tell how the conversation went with that seller.
Yeah, you see an AOL email address, and you know a little bit about the demographic of that person, probably a little older, probably not as sophisticated technologically. Yep. Yeah.
Yes, and I know exactly where they're gonna be. And I mean, I just need the zip code, the email, and the phone number, and I know where they are, and how that conversation, what value proposition we should go, offer to be able to get their business.
That's incredible. Nobody, I don't think we've ever talked about pattern recognition on our show, and it really is, especially if you're not exclusively working with friends and family, which of course pattern recognition probably isn't as important because those are people who are going to work with you regardless, and you'll be able to take great care of them. But when you're dealing with somebody who you don't yet know, you really do have to very quickly be able to assess, what does this person need, what are their motivations, what are their fears, and then how do I solve well, look, you're a consultant, so you're all about assessing and solving, right? And
Yes.
that is, can you talk a little bit more? Because we talked about the shift from consulting to being a real estate agent, but can we talk about how those skills maybe transitioned and help you, even though they're totally different industries?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. They're completely relevant, because essentially at the in my consultant career, I've worked in a lot of different industries. I work in plastic injection molding, and I worked at a chicken farm. I worked a lettuce packing company in aerospace. So there are different industries, but the patterns are the same. So the way I figured kind of like a formula that worked for me across all industries. And the formula goes like this. Find out who the intended client or consumer of that service is. Find out what their expectation is. What is it that they want? So the first thing that I do, I go and talk to maybe the Walmart buyers or the
Sure.
Boeing or whatever. I talk to the purchasing manager, and I say, okay, what is it that you want? So I want this product. I want it on time. I want it with this spec. I want it this color. I want it this way. And these are the challenges that I'm having right now with the company you're working with, and I need this fixed. So these
Yeah.
are the things that I want. These are the things that I need to fix. Fantastic. I have something to kind of go for, to aim for. Then I go back to my operation and say, okay, let's figure out a process that's going to deliver this no matter what. The key is no matter what, because it can
Right.
be expensive to deliver. It can be not profitable to deliver it, but I just want to deliver it first, no matter what. And then so I put a process in place that delivers that value no matter what. And then I go back and look at that process and say, where can I take out costs? Where can I take out things that are still deliver that value, but it allows us to make money? And then so now I laid out the process. Now, the next thing within the process, identify the roles or the job descriptions. So let me identify the job descriptions. And then once I identify the job descriptions, I identify the personality profile that fits within that job description. And then once I identify that, then I figure out what is the technology that I lay on top of that process and the people to be able to help them do their job faster, better, lower cost. And then once I have put the technology next, then the next thing after that is what accountability do I need to put in place? Supervision, or the supervisors that are going to make sure that the people and the technology are doing what they're supposed to do. And then the next layer is identifying what is the culture of this group, so we can keep them together, and we don't have this high turnover and that we have to teach people over and over and over what they do. So we got to have a culture that keep it sticky. And then what I'll do after I figure the culture, then I go back and I amp the challenge. So we started with this list of things. Okay, now we're going to do double that. Let's figure out how we do it.
Right.
Once we do that, then we go back and figure out, okay, who is the top leadership that needs to keep it all together? Who's going to understand the culture, understand the people, understand the technology, and deliver the value proposition to the end consumer.
Wow, you just said a tremendous amount of really how to grow really any business, quite honestly, not specifically just being a real estate agent or building a real estate brokerage or just even a team. But what you really were talking about is systematizing this business. You're a systems guy. And in fact, I have to really compliment Jay, because he didn't just, he obviously just gave us a lot of great information about his process, but he went through the same process with me about a minute before we started, because he said, okay, tell me about the demographics of your listeners. He said the first thing was, what's the intended audience? What do they want? What do they need? And he said, okay, well, and he started thinking thinking about how he could provide value to our show based on it. And he could, and I said, well, I don't really know that much about our demographics. And he was like, you need to know about your demographics. And he's absolutely right, because he's right. In order for us to deliver the best product to, in this case, our listeners or our viewers, we need to know everything we can. He goes, you need to put out a survey and you need to find out about your listeners. And he's so absolutely right. So I might even hire you as a consultant for our show. But back to real estate. This is so important because so many agents right now are either thinking, I want to join a team. I'm an independent person. I'm just working on my own. I'm a solo practitioner. And, maybe there's value in joining together with an existing team, or, in your case, building a team. And can you talk a little bit about the role you think teams are playing these days in real estate?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's a great question. That's a wonderful question. So because teams kind of get this, it's kind of like a vague description. You know what I mean? Husband and wife is a team.
Right.
One agent has a title rep and a lender, they're a team. So unfortunately, it kind of gets diluted. But to me, the main value. So let me go back historically. Historically, real estate brokers used to be in the real estate brokerage business, meaning they would have education departments. They would have coaching, and their managers were actually kind of their coaches and their accountability, trainers, accountability partners. They would have a marketing department that will actually market to the community, from through all different channels, and do events and be close to the business community, be close to the consumers, and to kind of like make sure that the brand has an impact on the community. And so these companies were running like businesses. But I think over time, with competition and with cost cutting, companies tend to become now more of like a multi-level marketing kind of setup. Yeah. And unfortunately, we start losing, we're losing a little bit of marketing, we're losing a little bit of the training, we're losing a little bit of the quality supervision or the quality accountability. Yeah. And so little by little, it started becoming like off the menu, like a la carte kind of industry. So what teams do essentially kind of brought back the all-inclusive package. And that when an agent comes through a team, they get it all, they get everything they need. They have to have, because you don't, you have to have good marketing. You have to have good training. You have to have good accountability. You have to have mentorship, in that accountability. You need to have a culture and an environment that allows you to succeed and thrive. And essentially, that's what teams deliver for those people who really want to do this as a career. Obviously, not everybody's in for this. So I think half of the population of real estate agents do this part-time. Probably the other half, they just want to do it as a side hustle. But there's a small percentage, maybe 10%, maybe 20%, that do want to do it as a full-time career that's growing. And I think that's where teams come in place, where they fill that gap, and especially on the accountability piece, because when a team leader is investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on marketing and on things, there's a level of alignment in their goals. The team leader wants that thing to close same way as at the same intensity level as the agent needs that thing to close. So there's an alignment. There's a success, alignment between the team leader and the agent.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And I believe that you mentioning at the beginning of what you just said, how that so many brokerages are stepping a little bit further away from accountability, training, marketing. And you're right, a lot of it's becoming more a la carte, pay as you go, which I guess works for some agents for sure, who are more independent and maybe want to make their own decisions. But there's, I know a lot of our listeners are new to the business and really want and need accountability. They need, a mentor, they need coaching. And, I think that's where so many of the people we've interviewed on the show over the years started out with a mentor, or they were on a team, and then maybe they left to go do their own thing later or build their own team. But that just mentorship from somebody that's already walked the path and sort of says, here are all the mistakes I've made, and here's patterns to help you grow, and systems to grow your business faster, is really lacking. It's really lacking in a lot of firms.
Yeah, and you could see that obvious in the, when you look at the average age demographic of the real estate agents, and then the same way the average age of the brokers is very high in our industry. I mean,
Yeah.
in the 50s, so I think 50 and then 55 for brokers. So what it says is that we're not attracting enough young people, and then we're not creating openings for them to access to access the ability to succeed in our industry quick enough and or easy enough. So this is why we're not attracting the best talent and the most talented people, and we should. And I mean, no one should be working as a bartender for 12 years.
Right.
And there are a lot of young people that are super talented that are just wasting away, serving drinks at bars when they could be helping clients and building a career, becoming managers, becoming a lot of things within our industry. So that's my little rant here.
No,
Sorry.
it's a good rant. No, it's an
Yeah.
excellent rant, and I think it's right. And I think it's right now too. We're in January. It's 2021, and we're seeing there's a light at the end of the tunnel for what we as a well, the whole globe has been, of course, dealing with. But it's also that time of the year where people reflect on the new year and saying, okay, what can I do differently? And is it time to join a team? Is it time to look at a new firm? And how do I want to proceed with my business? Because it is funny. Like at some point, you only have so many hours in the day. There's only so many dials you can make. And as one person, you will come up across a barrier at some point. There is a ceiling for that. And it's a very possibly lucrative ceiling, and you could be perfectly comfortable being a solo practitioner and making a certain amount of money that you're comfortable with, but you're now still also doing probably most all of the responsibilities, which as a business owner, and you're a business owner as well, of course, just how many of those hats a real estate agent has to wear. And so I think having those teams with those specific roles in place really helps just delineate out, hey, I'm going to focus on what I like best or what I do best, and then focus, let the other team members take over.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's definitely power in number. I do believe in the 1 + 1 = 3. It's so powerful. And, if we learn anything from this COVID-19 situation, that anything can happen at any time, anywhere. And you could build a career. We got lucky in real estate this time because we kind of benefited from the fact that more people needed bigger homes, and, there's lack of inventory, and there are more people need housing. But it could have been a different type of recession or a different type of economic crisis that made it that our industry had a hard time. Maybe rates gone up 10%,
Right.
and it would be in a different situation. So people have to prepare for those things, and have to we're living in multiple economic cycles that are coming faster and faster. And so we have to be prepared for a down cycle. And one way of preparing is being around, your own tribe that, support each other, that can alleviate some of that risk.
Yeah, and also technology comes in and changes the game as well. And I would have guessed 15 years ago, when I was a marketing person in different industries, not real estate at all, but I would have guessed 15, maybe 20, maybe 20 to, yeah, 15 to 20 years ago, I would have thought, oh, in a few years, real estate agents just won't be necessary. Zillow was just coming on. They were obviously disrupting the market and changing the way consumers shop for properties. And I thought, oh, okay, well, the real estate agent it won't even be an industry in 10 years. And of course, it is still important, because what technology hasn't yet solved for, and maybe they will one day, but they haven't yet, is how do you deal with the emotional side of the home buying and selling process, which has, obviously we all know, everyone who's listening, just how much fear, sadness, anger, the difficult feelings come up when people are going through transactions, and technology hasn't yet solved that, and hopefully won't anytime soon, so that agents can still provide those services. But it's really, I think, also technology has also helped agents not have to deal with a lot of the busy work that used to be necessary. Now they can focus on the human side of the transaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Technology kind of allowed good agents to deliver their value at scale. And that's what essentially it's helping speed up the process of elimination of like people who don't deliver value. And so the people who are delivering the most value are going to be able to do it at scale with technology, and people that don't are not going to be around that long. I think it created transparency, and essentially it allowed for us to kind of dig deeper and find new ways to service, the client. Also, technology is changing the consumer behavior. So as consumer behavior, our value proposition changes. Our value proposition changes. So we have to match. I always love how Amazon thinks of this. They think of this. They're always competing for that client. The client always wants it cheaper, faster.
Sure.
They want it for free yesterday. And so how can we're always competing with that. The consumer can change his mind all the time. They don't owe us anything. They used to like us to do certain things yesterday or last month or last year. They don't like that anymore. They want something else. And we have to adjust and adapt and react to that. And we have to deliver that value. So essentially, technology also speeding up that process of change and creating a little bit high, like a higher hurdle for people to be able to succeed in our industry. People who are essentially paying attention, being intentional, focused on the client first, focused on focus on delivering value to the client. Like we talked about earlier, the first thing you focus on is the client. If you're focused on that, you're going to find ways to deliver value no matter what. And you're always going to be around you're always going to succeed, and you're going to be around in our business, in our industry.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I hope so, because these are both of our industries. So we'll hope that technology doesn't get too advanced to take over the human side of it, and it doesn't appear that anyone has figured that out other than agents. And that's
the way I explain it to clients as well. Like we get this question all the time from clients, and we ask them, listen, if you're about to invest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in stocks, you're gonna get an app, or you're gonna get a free account, Charles Schwab or whatever, and you'll do your transactions there. But if you're gonna invest $1 million inheritance, you're not going to go and try, do your investing on your own. You're going to find a financial investor, a fiduciary, or someone that's going to, have going to have a lot more knowledge, going to be able to give you tax advice, or give you financial advice, or give you legal advice, or connect you with people with that, good advice to be able to put a plan for you. And that's what we do. This a real estate transaction is a big transaction that doesn't happen that often in person's life. And there's a lot of uncertainty around it. Plus the fact things change all the time. So even when the buyer has bought 6 years ago, it's not the same market that it is now. It's not the same, process that it is now. So there are always going to be need for human beings to guide other human beings through this journey.
Yeah, and the financial advisor example you gave is a good one, because those professionals typically also earn a percentage, in this case, assets under management. But it's very similar in some ways. It's less transactional, I guess, to a real estate sale. However, it's paid out very similarly. And a good money manager or a financial advisor will be able to say, sure, to manage your money, I'm going to charge you 100 basis points or 1%. But here's why it's worth paying me 1%, because I can do I have all the experience and knowledge that you don't have, and this is a lot of money, and you probably want to make sure it's done correctly. So 1%, seems pretty fair. Real estate agents also have to be able to answer that exact question: is, can't I just sell my home? Can't I list a home on my own? And the answer is, of course you can. And I know, even when I went to, and I'm a broker, and I went to sell my own property many years ago, I overvalued my own property, and I knew better. And I didn't have any checks and balances, and nobody said, you're too emotionally tied to this, because I was going to lose money on it anyway. And I was still so upset that I was losing money that I wanted to value it higher than it really was, to minimize that loss and the pain. And you know what? I needed to lower the price, and finally I did. But if I would have had a consultant or an agent, actually probably would have been smarter to have someone else sell my home. I would have got it and sold a lot faster, because I needed that expertise. And so the public, obviously is even less knowledgeable than we are, and is still going to need assistance. And so I think you're right. Agents that can demonstrate and provide value, that's why calling expired listings and for sale by owner, it still can work. It's difficult. It's certainly not the easiest way to grow a business, but there's a lot of people out there who are trying to sell their homes by themselves and not having a lot of success.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I tell, that's even harder on the buy side. One of the
Yeah.
things that I tell my agents is whenever you travel in a new town, try to go shopping for homes. Do a couple hours where you're in that town, try to look properties online and try to go through that process of like finding an agent and then go shop. You always learn so much from that
Yeah.
process. You can go on any of the platforms, you can click on this, you see who calls you, who doesn't call you,
Yeah.
what their conversation is like, what questions they're asking you, do they show up on time, do they show up late, do they dress properly or not. You could tell a lot. And then just from you starting to search for, like, the information that you get from local agents is so rich and is so good that you would never buy something on your own, because you don't
Right.
know. You know what I mean? There's so
Right.
much knowledge within these agents so a lot of times our agents, because they're in the water all the time, they don't see the water. So they're in the market all the time, they don't even see their own value. And they don't have like a way of kind of like communicating value to the consumer. So when they go, maybe a state down to Las Vegas, and they go around and they tour a neighborhood with an agent, and that agent gives them like everything about the development that's happening, the taxes, the history of the area, the demographics, and all that stuff. They're like, oh my God, that's what I do, but now I'm hearing someone else do it for me, and I'm like, I find it so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just to learn what not to do,
Yeah.
but more importantly, also what to do. And there are
Mhm.
some great agents out there, and you can always also, but yeah, going through it as I was talking about this the other day with another agent on our show, and we were talking about how so much of the business is about alleviating client anxiety. I know I'm in the process of closing on a home right now. I'm completely stressed out about it, even though it's all going to be fine. Everything's good. We're pretty much set. We don't know exactly when the closing is going to be. So there's a little bit of fear of the unknown, but really everything's in place. We're good. And I am still completely stressed. And this is the industry I'm in. And I shouldn't be, but I am. And I thought, boy, I wonder what the average consumer would be going through in my scenario. And it's a very simple transaction. It's a new development. So there's a little bit of a complication there with when we can move in. But other than that, it's a really relatively normal transaction. And even I am completely stressed out. And I thought, oh boy, if agents really can realize that they're buyers and sellers, which good agents obviously know this, but are just going through an emotional roller coaster as they go through the transaction. And if they can solve for those issues, boy, they're so incredibly valuable, and it's worth, the percentage that you're charging, to the client.
Yeah, absolutely. The best learning you have is to go through a transaction. So I tell the guys as well, it's like every 2 years you should buy a house just to remember how it is. Go through the lending process, get you pre-approved. Lender sends you a list of documents every 2 days, and then just go
Yeah.
through that frustration. And that will give you a lot of empathy for buyers and sellers, and it'll make you a better agent.
I just, and you're so right. And I'm telling all of our listeners, I'm supposed to be closing on the 15th. That's not going to happen because I don't know why it's not going to happen. I just know that my attorney doesn't know when, the lender doesn't know when, the developer doesn't know when, and I'm not really asking a ton of questions, but I'm a consumer at this point. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, it is really complicated. And and boy, I wish I had an agent. I mean, obviously I'm an agent, but I wish I had somebody doing a lot of this for me, because it is super confusing. I don't know what's going on. The lending part of it, that was the easy part. That's all solved for. But everything else, you're absolutely right. It's a great idea. I wanted to ask you here too, and just to switch gears for a moment, because
Yeah.
you have scaled. You're somebody who knows how to scale with the systems you've put in place. Anyone who's listening, and you started out, really with zero. You were pounding the phones and getting clients the hardest possible way, but also, you were able to scale year to year and really an amazing numbers, even going from, from four sales your first year, all the way to 90 sales within a few years from there. What advice do you have for, even if it's just a solo practitioner, somebody who wants to not 10x their business, because of course, we know that's been a huge buzzword for a long time, but even just 2x, I just want to double my production over the next year. Do you have any suggestions about what they can start to do to think about what it would take to get to that level?
Yeah, and I mean, it's identifying what you're good at. What is the
Yeah.
best thing you can do? Obviously, in the beginning, you try everything, and then
Yeah.
and you try everything at scale. Like you do a lot of activities. So earlier we were talking about pattern recognition when you make a lot of calls. When you do 500 dials a day for
Yeah.
7 days, over a year and a half, it's a big sample size for you to kind of recognize what works and what doesn't. And sometimes you might spend a lot of time on one thing and it doesn't give you the most results, but it's going to open up other things that are going to allow you to find out what's going to work for you. So whenever you recognize that these two things work for me, whether it is circle prospecting or expireds or door knocking or open houses or Zillow or Realtor.com, I wouldn't recommend someone brand new to invest in online leads unless it's not. They need to know how to convert offline leads first, and then go invest. So they can get a higher return on investment. But if once you kind of like figure out what you're good at, then you go all in on that one or two things, and then you could. Part of what you have to do, you have to think like an owner, like a business owner. You don't want to
Yeah.
think as like a solo, practitioner, because solo
Right.
practitioner is just a self-employed person. It's like it's almost like you're an employee to
Right.
yourself.
You're
So
right.
there's a big, people think that they're working for themselves. It gives them freedom. It doesn't. It's actually the opposite. So it doesn't give you any freedom at all. So you want to think as a startup, as as a small business. And then your goal is to increase your income as quickly as possible, and then invest part of that income into growing the business. Don't spend it. Don't go get the new car. Don't get the new Peloton. Go invest that money into your business and grow. Help it grow. Give it a little bit more fuel. That way you can create more opportunity that you can handle yourself. So you have opportunity to bring other people into, if you, and then the one of the things that a lot of people make a mistake, because there are a lot of people that were successful, that are successful, that were successful maybe 15, 20 years ago, and they're still successful now, but they were not able to make that transition from a solo practitioner,
Yeah.
self-employed, to owning a business and having having a scalable business, and they essentially gave themselves a ceiling. And the problem is that they try to maximize for their profitability to their pocket, to what's the disposable income, how much, let's call it seller disposable income. How much money can I take out of the business? And when they maximize for that, that means they're not investing in the business. So they're almost sucking the energy out of this tree that's
Right.
supposed to grow. And so instead of like taking too much, take as little as possible and reinvest back into the business to allow it to grow. Because if you're, if you, even if you do $1 million in GCI and you're spending 900, there's not much left for you to
Right.
run that business or to grow that business. And that business is not going to go that far. So and for someone who just started, and the numbers are pretty much the same, it just have to, you have to adjust. Don't grow your expenses as your income grows. Keep your
Right.
expenses low, grow your income, reinvest back in, reinvest back in, reinvest back in. And your goal is to create opportunity for other people to come into, so they can help you build it out.
Well, boy, I think you just said it all. I think that's really, really great suggestion. In the last section I really want to talk about is Homearly. Tell us a little bit about the company. And I know you guys are in Southern California. You service a huge area. You have lots and lots of agents. Can you talk a little bit about why agents join Homearly, what you guys provide, and what you offer?
Yeah. So we cover about 3 counties in Southern California: Orange County, LA County, and Riverside County. Agents join us because of what we talked about, opportunity. So we've created an embarrassment of riches in terms of leads and in terms of referrals and in terms of strategic relationships that we have with banks and investors and stuff that send us these opportunities for our agents to convert. So we just have too many opportunities, and we have agents coming to us. And the other side of it is our culture. And our culture is based on two elements, growth and contribution. So we're always seeking people that are growth focused, that are learning based, that are not here to make a quick buck, but here to grow, to become a different person, to become that person that, their potential, to meet their potential. And so we're very focused on personal development. We're very focused on team development. We're very focused on sharpening our mastery of our skills. We're very focused on, understanding the market, understanding the economy, understanding the consumer behavior, understanding the psychology, delivering, because the more we deepen our knowledge and our growth, the more we can deliver better value to the consumer. And then we can generate that that wow factor, and we can generate that returning client over and over. And then contribution, and then growth in terms of financials. So we want them to grow financially year over year, to reinvest in themselves, buy property, buy assets, and create opportunity for their family, create opportunity for other people. And then the contribution piece, which is essentially giving back, giving back to the team, giving back to their families, giving back to people close to them, and then giving back to the community in general, where we do a lot of, we participate in a lot of charitable events, we raise money, we go build houses, we do a lot of stuff for within the community, and for us, it's just about people growing to a higher level and then throwing the rope to someone else and helping them grow back up. That's essentially it. Is grow, rise up, and then throw the rope to someone else. And essentially that culture is ingrained within our team, and it seems to attract a lot of people.
Well, and we'd like to attract even more people to your firm. So any of our listeners or viewers who are in the Southern California area and are interested in seeing what other firms are offering, this is the time of year to do it, when typically business is a little slower. And we'd encourage you to check out Homearly. What's the best way that an agent should reach out to you if they're interested in exploring what you guys provide?
Yeah, we have a joinhomearly.com page set up. It's an easiest way. My phone is probably showing on the screen. You can call me as well, text me. But yeah, and I mean, our website, our social media, we're available. It's Homearly with one E. That's it. I think even if you make a mistake and you put Homearly J, it'll show up. And sorry, and yeah, and we're happy to chat.
And it's also a good thing too, because they are what Jay has really done is, if you look at the homearly.com website and joinhomearly.com, they are branded very specifically. A lot of time and thought went into branding, and it is very different from how 99% of firms are out there either recruiting agents or just projecting an image to consumers as well. So I want everyone listening and watching, even if you're not interested in joining a firm, take a look at these two websites, because so much they're very intentionally built, where most realtor websites, whether they're consumer focused or they're recruiting focused, really are kind of built the same way, and they all look about the same. Jay's websites really don't, and you can see what the kind of person he's looking to attract. There's a culture of fun that is very evident there, and it's bright and fun and exciting and very different from what most real estate websites look like. So go to homearly.com, again, Homearly with one E. And also, if you're interested in looking to see what his firm offers as an agent, go to Join Homearly, again, also with one E, joinhomearly.com. Jay, thank you so much for being on our show. You've given us so much incredible value during this hour here. So greatly appreciate your time and energy. And I want to
thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I want to also remind everyone who's listening or watching, if you want to help our show continue to thrive and grow, we ask you to do just two quick things for us. One, tell a friend, think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from having heard this great interview with Jay, and send them a link to our show. Easiest way to do that, send them to our website, which is keepingitrealpod.com. We have every episode we've ever done. They can stream it right there from their browser, or if they're a podcast person, have them pull up a podcast app, look for Keeping It Real, and they'll find us. The other thing is to please follow us on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. Every single day we find an article online that's written specifically designed to help agents grow their business, and we post that there. And we also post all of our interviews live, so you don't have to wait for us to produce them. As we're recording them, we broadcast those on Facebook. So again, facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. Jay, thanks once again. This was wonderful. On behalf of the audience, we thank you for your time, all your wisdom, and also on behalf of Jay and myself, we want to thank the audience for continuing to support our show. And we will see everyone on the next episode. Jay, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.